Yesterday, those who attended the ENA Town Hall meeting were moved by the comments from one of our ENA members, Major William White, Director of Trauma Education for the Defense Medical Readiness Training Institute in San Antonio, Texas. His words were so inspirational that I asked him to join us here today to share his thoughts with you. Needless to say, he has not planned on being part of the show today, but he graciously has accepted to do so. So please join me in welcoming Major White to the stage.
Hey, thank you very much. How you guys doing today? Awesome, great. Well, again, my name is Major Bill White, and I am the state chair for the military, representing all of the military forces in the States and abroad. So it's kind of like representing a lot of the heroes out there. But what I found out when I got here about, oh, thank you, applause, applause. I'll be passing a hat later. When I actually got here a couple days ago, I had a lot of you coming up to me and congratulating me, saying, hey, you know what, we really appreciate you guys serving, and I know a lot of my military colleagues had the same welcome. I actually had some people going like this. Have you guys seen this little movement there? Well, see, I had never seen that before. So one of my colleagues says, what's going on? I says, I think they're flashing us gang signs. Just smile and keep walking. But thank them, be very polite. I said, oh my gosh, there's a lot of ENA gang people here. But then I was told that it's not. It's kind of a way that people will salute the military. So again, we really appreciate that. That's really nice. Now, but what I thought was this. As people said thank you, the reality is, no, it's not thank me. It's thank you. Because it's really you, the people in the ENA, the people that are sitting in the chairs right now in these different states, that actually form how the military operates and how our junior nurses practice. When you say, how is that? Well, I'll tell you. We right now are so into the TNCC and the ENPC programs. And did you know at this point that almost every nurse going into combat right now is TNCC certified? And we're not going to stop there, because we in the military, people who have deployed, realize that pediatrics is a huge role, plays a huge role in what we do. And we're going to push ENPC for their next tours of people going in. I think it's very important to do so. Now, I only have 5 minutes to speak, so I won't take all the time. But I returned back from Baghdad about 8 months ago, and when I was over in Baghdad, I was given the privileges of actually serving as the nurse manager of the emergency room in the IZ, the International Zone in Baghdad. And when I was there, part of your duties and responsibilities is you're kind of the PR person, because there's always embedded media there. And I've been on, BBC, CNN, ITN. I've been on Good Morning America, Nightline, Dateline, and on the Wounded Warrior miniseries with MSNBC. And one of the questions that they always seemed to ask was kind of the same one. They says, well, how do you prepare those nurses to do what you're doing? Now, I can tell you, the very first time this happened, I just got done cleaning up a major trauma. We had about 15 U.S. soldiers that came in that were in an ambush. I was in the middle of working the boards and everything else, and a good friend of mine, or actually became a good friend, Richard Bazell from MSNBC, said, Bill, how do you do this? How do you prepare these nurses? And you know what? I was put on the spot, and the first thing you can't say is, no, you know what? I looked around and I kind of thought of what happened during the day. I says, well, you mean how do I prepare a nurse to go ahead and receive multiple patients that have multiple amputations, arms, legs, both, burns, severe burns, and multiple gunshot wounds? And they're going to receive these patients with a 1 to 2 minute warning, and they're coming in by helicopter, by tanks, by Stryker vehicles, by Humvees. How do I prepare them to do that? How do I prepare them to take care of their patients while rockets and mortars are slammed into the hospital, when the power has gone up and their colleagues are under the tables and under the desks? And my nurses are with flashlights taking care of the patients. And obviously it was my nurses that would always make the flip comments, hey, you know what? Surgeons are a little bit late with their attacks today. What do you think? And the other one would say, well, they must be working on overtime hours today. You'd have to kind of quell some of that, because we had media always running around. How do I prepare them to, after the attack was over, and then people would fan out and do casualty searches just in our little area? And they'd go into buildings that were half blown up, but rockets that had not exploded were still inside the buildings. And they would be pulling the patients out, bringing them back to the ER, saying, hey, we thought you guys were slow, so we brought you a couple more casualties. Why did they do that? You know what they said? Because we're ER nurses, and that's what we do. Now, when I took over for the ER in Baghdad, I actually took it over from Colonel John Groves, who was just an inspiration. And a couple things, he had departed before he gave me the baton. And he said, you know, Bill, he says, one of the big things you remember is this will be the most fulfilling 12 months of your life and the most challenging. And John, you were kind of wrong because I had to do 15 months. So, but it was the most fulfilling and also the most challenging. You know what? I can tell you, myself, John included, nobody, and the current people that are there now, nobody in Baghdad dies alone. We prepare the nurses to take care of, and you are at the bedside of every soldier, sailor, airman, and Marine who is mortally wounded. You're there for every child, Iraqi child and Iraqi adult who is mortally wounded, and you watch them die. You're going to be there for every insurgent. Nobody in Baghdad dies alone, and we are attested to that. We knew that. How do you prepare nurses on Christmas Eve? While your families are stuffing stockings, you're stuffing body bags. Okay? Very difficult to prepare someone to do that. How do you do it? Well, you have to teach the nurses how to manage chaos. Because guess what? That's what ER nurses do. We manage chaos. And I'll tell you, in combat, there's a whole lot of chaos going on. But you know what? Our successes are your successes because you help us form our practice. And I just want to say, what are our successes? Well, did you know that right now, and the war started in March of 2003, as of 36 hours ago, because we get the casualty reports, as of 36 hours ago, there's been 30,634 casualties in Iraq, and that's just in the Iraqi theater. And if you look at the whole ENA population, which is, 35,000, so that would wipe out almost all our entire ENA population. But I can tell you there's a good news story to that 97% of any wounded soldier, sailor, airman, or Marine that reaches a combat support hospital, ER, or theater support hospital will survive. And those are just outrageously great numbers. I want to leave you with just one more thing, one of those did you know things. Did you know that, remember when we were looking for Saddam Hussein? Do you guys remember that? $25 million were being offered for tips and everything. Did you know that an ER nurse was taking care of an Iraqi child and did such a good job, and the family was so moved? The family had no money because they didn't have money. They didn't pay anything. They came back and they told that nurse, they said, you know what, we know where Saddam is. They gave that tip to that ER nurse. One of the tips that helped find the Saddam Hussein. John, I don't know what you did with that money, but I tell you, I'd like some of it. It's the reality of it. Bottom line, ER nurses do make a difference. And the reality is, we do change the future. And that's all I have. Thank you very much.